Hey, what's up guys, it's Oakley and we're going to be doing a 1v1 battle on a smaller siege battle. This is going to be Massalia, apparently. Doesn't really look like it. But anyways, I'm going to be fielding the bow guy. My opponent is actually going to be, well, obviously in the city, and he's going to be fielding Rome. So what I decided to do was mount a huge offensive all on one wall. With the potential for strikes on this rear gate. I didn't want to commit too much, but I wanted enough to draw off his forces, but then have some cavalry to thwart expeditions sent out from his gate to disrupt my equipment here, so I could retaliate. And then I had, like I said, all my forces over here, some reserve troops safely out of distance, and again, cavalry to intercept forces coming out of the gate, just in case some players do like to do that and try and catch you by surprise. And then I'm going to be rolling up with the mixed bag of kind of siege equipment. So the first one is going to be the Levy Freeman station in siege towers. Siege towers can take a beating, plus I don't care too much about Levy Freeman, so I want them to soak up the fire from the archers in the towers. And then I back that up with the weaker, more exposed ladders, and they're going to be going at the, unprotected wall stretches right there. Move this guy up a little bit after the towers, and then I'm also going to start rolling up a galley to let me get close and then potentially burn down the gates. So that's going to be it. Let's watch some of these cinematics as they come in. Really do love the views you get from these lumbering siege towers, and it's quite unfortunate that you aren't allowed to, what was I going to say, have more things in siege. I kind of wish they, oh, that was weird. I wish they had more options in siege where you could have maybe like the sapping the gate or the walls and have that, which is kind of what they're going to do in Total War Attila with siege escalation, where you have collapsed sections of the wall. I'm actually looking for that because one of the things I don't like about the sieges here is everything is clean, the city is fresh, and that's nice for some battles, but then I also would like the opportunity to play on a half destroyed city without bringing, half artillery on my side. Now we're going to be moving up to the walls, and I'm a little bit worried I don't see the Romans. A tactic that a lot of people like to do is sort of not even contest the walls too heavily, and then post a ton of archers and javelin men on the wall, basically right behind the wall. And so that's something you'll see people do. It's very, very effective because your troops on the wall are actually pretty exposed. You can get a lot of damage on them. But anyways, here come my Levy Freemen coming out first. And they're going to be coming to basically chase off what's on the wall. So that's going to be mostly these Syrian archers, and then make room for the rest of my forces. We have more guys coming up the walls on this position. And I've been, happily informed by my guys on the walls that actually nothing is going on behind the walls. Luckily, there's just a couple infantry who are going to be making their way up. So I'm going to make a beeline for the towers, ensure that I can capture that, and then repulse the opponents as they move up to try and contest my position. And now I can see kind of what's going on in the rear of the Roman formation. I'm going to keep chasing with my spear levies, just make sure I can clear the wall. And I'm going to be taking a lot of archer fire from the towers, and maybe even from the supporting forces, javelins potentially, but that's fine. I'm not all too worried about that. I actually want them to start wasting their pilla, throwing stuff at Levy Freeman. That's the perfect waste for these guys. So a lot of these, I believe, armored legionnaires lining up here, and he's actually got a pretty interesting move. He's got a huge cluster of these dogs ready to send them forward at me, and then he has two lines of these Roman scorpions. One is going to be facing my position where I've decided to engage. So not a bad move if you can start targeting clusters of forces. You can see I'm already starting to cap the gates in the distance. But I'm going to have to come down to the ground to finish off that capturing. Meanwhile, my Levy Freemen are going to actually make an attack past this position. I was going to try and knock out some of these scorpions because you can see one of them is going to be protecting this position. Syrian archers could devastate my approach. I don't have that many siege towers or any siege towers, let alone just a couple, a battering ram and a galley. Can't really take this position. So I'm going to have to knock out some of these defenses from the rear, which is what the Levy Freemen are, but then again, they are also fodder units. One of my forces down here, Levy Freeman, has been engaged in the fight. I don't want them to stay too engaged, so I pull them out of that fight knowing I can't win. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to have some Oathsworn actually positioned up here, sneakily pull these Praetorian Guard units out of position, waste their pillow on my guys, and then I'm going to come in from the back with these guys who can throw nice flanking javelins on these guys. I'm sucking them into a position where they don't want to be. I have more units up here. I'm going to be capturing the gate, so hopefully I can get some tower fire down on these Praetorian Guards. Same thing over here. That's going to be my strategy. I have successfully taken this tower, which is going to allow me to start doing damage to the Praetorian Guard. Praetorian are going to start moving up to the top, and they're going to try and contest my position. That's fine. As long as I have the tower, I can hold out on the wall. Limited avenue for him to attack. And you'll see me do this. I'm going to form up in shield wall and just use that tower to help me do the damage to these Praetorians, because every one of these shots is almost a heat-seeking arrow, and it's going to keep doing a lot of damage to these armored legionnaires. All I have to do is bide my time, and then I have another Celtic warrior unit on the ground to perhaps come over here and either take out these cavalry or take out this position. More of my guys are going to be lining up. I have now cornered the Praetorians. Levy are going to be over here, and dogs are going to be moving into position. I'm not too worried about those guys. And I was positioned here to try and get some javelin shots on the Praetorians. However, he got just out of range of my guys, and I didn't want to commit too heavily to that. So I'm going to let him run away. But I had more reinforcements and I had the hill advantage. So he's going to be falling back to this nice little position, not allowing me to flank him. So pretty good move, but I was able to get a couple, nope, no shots on his guys. It looks like my people weren't up on the walls. And I'm going to try and contest this position, flowing down here to try and hold it and tackle his legionnaires. And I'm also going to try and pull in my cavalry. However, the gate is not quite mine. And I'm also worried about the stake, so I don't really want to run in there just yet. So here come the dogs. And a volley of pillas, so potentially very devastating. I'm going to go ahead and just ignore them for the time being and try and charge into the armored legionnaires. And you can see in the distance actually what's going on is his Praetorians are going to be coming out of the position, deciding to assault my hilltop position. And I'm just going to be pulling those Oathsworn that you can see on the right to a better shot where they can actually just hit his guys in the back with javelins and then land an assault. Let's actually see how the dogs are faring. Looks like not too brilliantly against my armored guys. It looks like, well, they're still here in the mix fighting alongside their Roman handlers. But the towers, it seems like, are going to be starting to take a toll on these units. And the dogs have mostly been run down. I think dogs are actually better used in the rear of your forces, or potentially, against skirmishers or other troops. But against heavy sword followers, it's not going to make too much of an impact on me. And I'm going to be rushing in with more of my sword followers and reinforcements, also waiting on Celtic bowmen to take the stand up on the walls. Right over here, this is where I'm going to be landing some nice rear fire shots on those Oathsworn, or on the Praetorian Guard. So they should be firing relatively soon. Here comes a volley. So not only do I have the hill advantage, but I also have the advantage of being able to attack these guys in the rear. His cavalry were going to try and reinforce, so I pulled off these Oathsworn to prevent him from doing that. So I'm blocking these positions, and I was able to brace in time. Looks like I really only lost a couple men here and there. Most of the cavalry are taking a beating. And then over in this position, I have guys throwing javelin up on the wall, flanking shots on these, again, very, very expensive Praetorian Guard. And then my sword followers here are going to be able to hold this position in shield wall. It's not really going to be making an advantage. My javelins are going to be kind of picking off units at the extremities. Cavalry are going to try and get around my back, so I'm going to turn about and attempt to face that. So we're going to intercept those guys before they can line up for a devastating charge. And meanwhile, my tower is going to be helping support me in that engagement, but he is trying to make a beeline for my position. Not in time, it looks like, before I was able to absolutely just slaughter these Praetorians. So very expensive units that I was able to take out sort of piecemeal. And I'm going to be splitting up again. I don't want to allow him to catch me in a position where he can, double team me. I want to make sure he's spread thin. So I'm going to pull out and re-engage here. I did take some shots in the back, but that's all right. Oathsworn are devastating these units despite the losses, staying up in the high ground just to get additional volleys. And now one of the things that I'm going to be able to do is take a look at who's disembarking from the walls. Actually, let's take a closer look at this one. Those are going to be my Gallic hunters. They're going to be coming on the wall, and now they have juicy targets that they can shoot at. So that's going to be perfect for me. He does, however, detach some of his cavalry, and they were making a beeline for these guys, so I pulled out more of my Oathsworn from this position, intercepted the cavalry, so they were taking a heavy beating just to be able to try and land some strikes on the rear of my guys. It's going to be somewhat effective, but now I'm going to pin him. The slaughter continues at the front of the gates. Looks like some of the Levy guys are in the mix. He's just trying to tie me down, allowing his Syrian archers to do work on my men. And then you can see some of these guys just landing volley after volley into that position. So it's quickly becoming a killing ground, which is why I didn't want to commit too many forces. I was hoping to be able to capture the towers, but my opponent actually very smartly committed some guys up here. Now I'm going to be positioning some of my men to land javelins. You can see me actually throwing a couple, doing almost no damage. Sticking mostly in the shields, and then I'm going to pull off to a safe position, allow these guys to clean up those forces, and then I'm going to go ahead and break down these barricades to finally try and allow my cavalry to make it inside the city. However, because these forces have been here long enough, the gatehouse is no longer mine and I cannot stream in with my cavalry. I was intending to have them pull through this position and charge right through to the Syrians, right through this line, and just smash into the rear of these guys and allow the rest of my forces to come up through here. You did miss a bit of the blood feud going on in this position. I had moved up a battering ram and I was able to crack the gates, but basically lost all my men in the ensuing attempt to pull out. The reason I wanted to put pressure on this front is because I didn't want all these units, especially these. Oh, it looks like the Scorpions have done an about face. I didn't want too many units being pulled off to deal with the threat over here because I was making progress. Now I'm going to pull my guys back into this position, try and capture the gatehouse. Some of them are going to try and chase after these archers, but let's watch over here actually this engagement. These Gallic hunters are having a field day, really picking off the Roman troops. So we've cleaned up a lot of these Roman units. The last couple of them are going to be left over. Look at these blood-soaked, you know, slopes, and I mean, kind of the ghost floating wood, but it's still a brutal sight. And he's going to try. It seems my opponent is kind of uncoordinated in the way he's going to try and envelop me. I was able to get around him, block him with these Oathsworn. And these are again Praetorian Guards, so he invested very heavily in these elite tier units. But just because of the sheer numbers that I brought. And again, these Gallic hunters are excellent once they can get positioned on the high ground here. I'm going to be able to surround his very, very elite units. Keep guys in reserve, keep them in case of a rear assault from the cavalry from my opponent, and then also be able to potentially swing through this opening, follow the Romans, kind of dragging themselves back to the city center. Very sad sight for the defenders. So yeah, and I'm going to be able to get flanking position. Going to charge in right here. And over in the distance, it's still a stalemate. I am whittling down those Praetorian Guards pretty heavily. And now we get some point-blank shots. You can watch some of those arrows. Actually pretty cool. I love how projectiles are modeled in Total War. It's very, very sweet. So you can see some of these arrows actually pinging off the wall, the Praetorians bouncing around. And it looks like mostly their shields are faced in my direction, so it's not going to be easy pickings as much as we'd like it to be. But these Gallic hunters do have some pretty good shots. I can see a couple Praetorians actually taking shots in the shoulder, so definitely helping to turn the fight in my favor and really whittle down, of course, these Praetorians who would otherwise cause me a lot of trouble. If these guys were all allowed to fight me in a single mass, I would probably lose, but with the support of the archers and the surround that I've got here, it's only a matter of time before these guys are extinguished. My guys are also going to be making a move down the main avenue. You can see them moving in the distance. I'm going to go engage with the archers in this position. I really want to chase them down. The rest of my forces are still continuing the fight here. I don't quite have the tower. My cavalry are idle on the outside. Unfortunate, I know. But here it goes. I'm going to engage with these guys. Clear a position here. Hopefully once those guys are destroyed, then I can mount the walls and land a rear strike on these legionnaires, take the gates, allow my cavalry to flood in. Finally, the Romans are going to be broken, so Praetorians going down, definitely a huge win for me. And there you can see my Gallic hunters are going to be redeploying. Wondering actually how many of those kills we can actually attribute to these guys. 32 kills, so pretty decent for a support role for these guys, especially against, you know, units like Praetorians. So I'm going to be pulling them down here, trying to help secure, penetrate into this plaza, and here we go. I'm going to be pulling these guys up onto the hill, get some rear shots on these armored legionnaires who are holding out pretty long. Here's the decimation of another Praetorian unit. A lot of the kills actually being relatively evenly distributed, but you can see all the forces back here. These were all killed by my towers, so maybe about a third of the Praetorian losses being just culled away by the towers just reaping those guys. So very, very beneficial to fight under the protection of a tower. So my opponent probably should have picked his battles better, you know, held this position over here, not allowed me to penetrate, keep more Praetorians in these choke points, and just defend the tower. That would have been a pretty good position, and then probably mass, you know, archers and scorpions here, deny me passage up that place, and then also block this position. But yes, things seem to be going my direction. I'm still keeping the threat up here in case my opponent is going to try and do something against me. I did send a couple more units once the gate was broken who tried to penetrate this position, but they just got slaughtered by Praetorians and stake. So this is definitely a very good position that they can hold. So I wasn't willing to send too much more than some fodder units just to tie down these forces. And then if any of them is going to get peeled off, especially this Praetorian, then I'm going to send in the full force of these guys and just penetrate that wall. So here comes some of my deployment. I pulled back these guys out of the range of his Syrians. And now the enemy general is going to be in that position. And I'm going to allow my archers to start to take some pot shots. So they're going to be holding out really desperately, trying to secure that position. Here comes a couple volleys from my archers, starting to ding those cavalry units. And they do have pretty good armor, but it's not going to be enough to protect them. See if we can catch a headshot or something potentially coming through here. So that guy blocking 3 arrows on the middle of his shield. So these guys are going to be able to hold up a little longer. They're charging straight into my men, but I'm going to form up, take off fire at will, and form into shield wall. That's the best way to blunt a cavalry charge. Remember that if you have fire at will on, your units will not brace, so I made sure to turn that off. And then now I'm going to engage with my guys on these Syrian archers, pin them on this side, and then engage from the rear with the rest of my guys. So here comes my units chasing away these Syrians. And now the plaza is going to start to be in contention. So the plaza is going to be ours. The cavalry have been pulled off. And now I'm going to be moving into this position. Like I said, once the legionnaires moved out of this defensive emplacement, there's no reason for me not to chase after these Syrians. And those guys, you can see them getting a little shifty. They're not quite sure they want to stand up to my general coming in from this position. And I do have actually some Gallic hunters over here. Didn't quite use them in this battle. I was hoping to maybe move them into this position if it was not heavily contested and get them on the walls as well. But they were good in a support role nonetheless. Let's actually watch some of the charge of my guys coming against these Syrians. This should be pretty cool. Oh, it looks like they're deciding to engage on foot, really contest the passage, which is maybe not the worst idea if this gate has boiling water. He wants to hold me right here. I'm not sure if it does. And the tower is actually getting enfilading fire on both of my guys. So, you know, maybe not the worst move. These guys would have died out here. But by pushing me up against the gates, he's going to actually do a lot of damage. And now my cavalry and other units are going to be able to secure that gate in the distance, pour through, and look at some of these scorpions actually positioned. Oh, you saw one of those bolts actually come through here. So he's doing pretty good amounts of damage. I mean, my unit is down to 85 men, 83 already. The Roman general coming through here. So I lost a pretty good amount of guys in that assault. That's why I didn't want to press. There we go. Here's the boiling water. That's why I didn't want to press that attack earlier on. But it's enough to just hold up the rest of his forces here while I continue to press the advantage over here. My cavalry are now securing this position, and I'm going to allow these Gallic hunters to continue on their their killing spree, especially against these high value targets. Man, these guys are having probably the easiest battle. Let's see, did they have any losses? Okay, they've taken some losses. I'm not quite sure how. But yeah, I've been giving them almost point-blank range shots in the rear of Praetorians all day long, so don't know how you can be a happier Gallic hunter with that. Pretty brutal kills going on here. Now we're going to charge the rear of these units. My opponent's going to turn around just in time, but again, he's sandwiched from both sides, so either way he faces, he's shit out of luck. My Gallic hunters are now going to be peeled off. I don't want them doing friendly fire, and I wanted them to go take the tower, but I knew the game was over anyways. So hope you guys enjoyed. I will see you next time. I do actually like these small scale siege battles. It's kind of cool. It's a different change of pace, probably quicker than the larger scale siege battles, and not as much of a grinding fight, but very, very fun. So let me know if you guys enjoy these, and if you recommend any maps I can play in the future. Thanks so much, guys. Peace out.